mentor who embodies this philosophy, someone whose own career journey is a masterclass in building with intention. Olumide Frederick Adetiba is a seasoned professional with a dual passion, fostering organizational growth through strategic human resource management and organizational development, and advocating for positive change in Africa. As a co-founder and executive director of the Madiba Foundation for Good Governance, he champions social equality within development initiatives for Africans and marginalized groups across the continent. Olumide boasts a diverse career path, excelling in both for-profit and non-profit sectors. His experience includes pioneering HR, admin, and finance roles at Premium Times, ultimately rising to Director of Operations. In this leadership capacity, he also played a pivotal role in supporting the Premium Times Center for Investigative Journalism, PTCIJ, now the Center for Journalism Innovation and Development, CJID, by effectively supporting the management of grants from prestigious international donors like the Ford Foundation, MacArthur Foundation, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Throughout his career, Olumide has meticulously honed his careers, honed the skills in various domains, including human resource management, human capital development, administration, operations management, organizational development, and finance. His expertise extends to business development, project management, and navigating the intricacies of media management and relations. By leveraging this comprehensive skill set, Olumide empowers organizations and businesses to achieve their ambitious goals for transformation. Driven by a deep commitment to good governance and youth empowerment in Africa, Olumide actively contributes to the Not Too Young to Run movement. His education extends beyond policy advocacy, as evidenced by his participation on the boards and advisory panels of several impactful organizations, including the Global Freedom Network, Finishers Initiative for Social Transformation, Center for Journalism, Innovation and Development, Madiba Foundation for Good Governance, and Premium Times. Additionally, he serves as a lead steward at the Finishing Church. Olumide's academic background includes a diploma in social work for development and a BSc in sociology from the University. He furthered his studies with a master's degree in sociology from Stellenbosch University, South Africa, and a professional diploma in human resource management from the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria. Olumide is a prolific author, having co-edited and authored several books that explore themes like emerging leadership, the intersection of faith and governance, and personal growth journeys. Titles like Emerging Remnant, Faith and Governance, Politics and Spirituality in Nation Building, 40 Life Lessons at 40, Testimony to Courage, and Uncaged showcases diverse range of interests and perspectives. He's here tonight not just to speak, but to mentor us on how to build a career that doesn't just climb, but last. We are truly honored to have you with us, sir. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, moderator. Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for having me in here. It's entirely my pleasure to be here with each and every one of you. And well done for the great work that the community is doing. Well done for the great work that the community is doing. And I'm excited to be sharing this moment with each and every one of you. And thank you as well for the opportunity to be here. Laying the foundation for career growth. As I go through this, I'm going to be sharing my personal journey with you, with the hope that that will also help to provide some form of practical and pragmatic examples of the principles and the values that I'm going to be sharing with us. And this is to let us know that these values can be operationalized, these principles can be operationalized, and they work the work. And we're going to be doing that. I'm going to be doing that. And then one or two exercises as well that I'm going to need us to take on in the course of this session tonight. All right, laying the foundation for career growth. Laying the foundation for career growth. This, what I'm presenting to you, is a strategic framework for young people, those who are about to get started, or those who are in early years of their careers. I'm sure that we all will find this helpful. And I want to start by saying that career must be seen, should be seen as a long-term asset. Career should be seen as a long-term asset. That is how important it is and how we should frame it, how we should frame our career. We must see our career as a long-term asset, as an asset that you're building. And that's how important it is. Career is not just a job. Career is not just a job. It is a strategic asset that compounds over time. It is not just a job, but a strategic asset that compounds over time. Just imagine building an investment portfolio where every day or every week or every month you get to contribute to that portfolio. Moderator, please help. Thank you. And so you see your career as a long-term asset that compounds over time. See it as that asset that you build, that you put in resources in every now and then, and you're watching it grow. You're watching it grow. Another way to appreciate this is, if possible, even though you are the subject of your career, um, just imagine your career being an entity that is different from you. Imagine your career being an entity that is different from you, that you have to water, that you have to take care of, that you have to grow. I'm just trying to, help us understand this as much as possible. So you see it as a strategic asset. See it as a strategic asset. Um, Jobs, on the other hand, you can do certain jobs that can help you pay bills, right? You work to pay bills, but careers build value. While job can help you pay your bills, careers build value, build value. And so it's something that I appreciate over time. Career helps you build value that appreciate over time. That's how you must see career. And then the other side that I also want to smuggle into the conversation, permit me, I'm using that word smuggle, because it's very, very important, and that is the subject of purpose. And I know that we all would have heard about purpose over time and all. So that subject of purpose is also very, very important here. It's really, really important. So while jobs will help you pay bills, Careers will help you build value over time. Purpose drives fulfillment. Purpose drives fulfillment. And so that is why I'm bringing in purpose as part of the conversation because this is very, very important. Early decisions don't just determine where you start, they shape how fast and how far you grow. Early decisions don't just determine where you start, they shape how fast and how far you grow. And that is why conversations like this are very important early on. That's why I always, maybe NYC, even students, while you're still in school, it's really important to start having conversation around career building very early. And the area of purpose is also very, very important. The area of purpose is very, very important. One of the statements that shaped me over the years is a statement that was made by one of my pastors when I was in school. And he said, do not make concrete decisions that you will not be able to change unless you have discovered your purpose. Do not make concrete decisions that will be difficult for you to change until you have discovered your purpose. And what is that telling us? Telling us that if you've made certain concrete decisions that are difficult to change after discovering your purpose, you will struggle. That's what it means. You will struggle. But if you've discovered your purpose, and then you now start, based on that discovery, you start making decisions around career path, and all of that, you will have little or no regret, in that area of your life. All right. And so purpose drives fulfillment. Purpose, can you guys just give me a second? Give me a second. There is a distraction here. Let me just take care of it.
It's okay, sir.
Apologies, guys. I'm back. All right. So early discovery of purpose is very important. And I want the conversation around career on that. It's very, very important. So that everything can fit. Everything can fit. And I want to also say this, that your life is a system. Your life is a system, and a system is a whole structure that is made up of different interconnected parts. All right. So your life is like a system and is made up of different parts that are connected. And so your career is just one aspect of this different part. All right. And so, and the thing is that when there is an offset in one of the parts, it has a tendency to affect the other part. All right. Even though we're going to be focusing strictly on career, I want you to see how important your career is and how that, how that can affect other areas of your life. However, the platform on which every part of life is built is on purpose, right? And so discovery of purpose, early discovery of purpose is very important. And I'm going to be bringing that in as we continue. Let me take us through very quickly three pillars of career foundation. Three pillars of career foundation. Number one is self-discovery. Self-discovery. This is like the way you have social capital, financial capital. This is like clarity capital. Self-discovery is like clarity capital. And that is very important. It's like what you invest in your own life, self-discovery. And so before chasing opportunities, understand your internal wiring, understand who you are. It's very, very important. Understand your internal wiring, understand who you are. And what we're looking at here now also is connected to the issue of purpose as well. Because self-discovery is also, it links with, discovery of purpose. Because you can't successfully discover yourself without discovering your purpose. All right. And so this is very, very, very important. So before chasing opportunities, understand your internal wiring, understand your purpose, understand why you're here. And so key questions, that will help you in your, journey of self-discovery is, what problem am I naturally drawn to solve? Take note of that. What problem am I naturally drawn to solve as a person? You need to figure that out. Number two, what skills come easily to me? What skills come easily to me? That is important. And number three, what values do I refuse to compromise? What are those values that I hold on to, that I cherish, that come what may, I will not compromise? And so these questions are very, very important. So they're part of questions that will help you understand yourself. So the framework here is that, you need to figure out your strength. You need to figure out your strength, what you do well. That's your strength. You need to figure out your passion, what energizes you. You need to figure out your passion. That is what energizes you. You need to figure out your values, what guides your decisions. What guides your decisions. You need to figure them out. Misalignment at early age or early stage leads to long-term frustration and stagnation. When there's a misalignment, and the misalignment continues over a period, it can lead to long-term frustration and stagnation. And so let me just share two examples with us. By the time I was finishing school, I knew I knew that there were certain sectors I couldn't work in. All right. And so, even though, and the particular sector was actually banking. Uh, when I finished, banking was, what was like rainy during my time, and people were trying to get into banking. And of course, there was also oil companies, oil servicing firms, and all of that, and management consulting and all. But I was very clear about the sector I was not meant for, and banking stood out very strongly, and it was because of what I had discovered about myself. All right. That was why. Again, I'm going to take to
So I hope you guys are with your notepad and you're taking notes because these are comprehensive life matters. And I'm very certain that after today's section, you would have been able to create for yourself about your career. So if you're not taking note right now, I advise you to get your pad, get your paper, get your pen, and take notes.
Thank you, sir. Sorry, it seems the network too is not too good. Your voice is clear now, but I could barely make real sense out of what you were saying. I got lost when he started mentioning the first pillar. He said is it self-discovery or self-awareness? I couldn't pick that. I don't know, maybe it's
Oh,
only my side anyways.
okay. Please, guys, I'm back. Can I have someone, a second person? Yes, it's self-discovery,
So
which we
is it
refer
my
to as
side alone?
clarity capital. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we
We
can
can
hear
hear
you.
you, sir.
Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah, I think
Apologies
it's
for
network.
the interruptions. All right. So what we're looking at now is self-discovery. And I said that it is important, that self-discovery is important, and it's also part of purpose. The same framework can be applied to how you discover purpose, which is very important. And part of it is you're asking yourself key questions. What problems am I naturally drawn to solve? What skills come easily to me? What values do I refuse to compromise? What are the values that I hold very dearly? And I also said that what you're trying to figure out by asking these questions is number one, your strength, what you do well. So you want to figure out your strength, you want to figure out what you do well. You're figuring out your passion, what energizes you, your passion. So you also want to figure out your values, the values that guide your decisions. And I shared an example, a personal example of how very early on, because I had discovered some of these things, I had known myself to an extent. It was very clear to me certain sectors I was not meant for. Very, very clear, even though the banking sector was one of those sectors that was, a lot of people were excited about at the time. It's not even right now. Back in the day, they used to really pay well. It's not the way it is right now. And so, but I knew that that was not meant for me because I had discovered my my identity, I was discovering my purpose already, my values, and all of that were to a great extent clear to me. They were to a great extent clear to me. And so that then helped shape my career choices and decisions. And so this is very important. And I also mentioned that misalignment at this stage could lead to a long-term frustration and stagnation. Misalignment at this stage could lead to a long-term frustration and stagnation. And I have also seen examples of people who went through school, first degree, even to a master's level, and because they were not very clear about who they were, what they were meant to do, their purpose in life, they could not define, for themselves what their career path should be. And the truth is, I have seen a couple of people who, because of that, as we speak, they are living in frustration and they are stagnated because of that. And so it's very, very important for us to ensure that, we take our time to discover ourselves, discover our purpose, so we can make right choices, that can make right career choices that are in line with our strength, our passion, and our values. This is very important. So number one pillar of career foundation is self-discovery, which we call clarity capital. The second one is skill acquisition. This is very important. You then have to acquire the required skills, right? And so this is what we call capability capital. Capability capital. And so we know this, that the marketplace, society at large, rewards value and not potential. It's about value. It's about value. It's about the value that you can deliver. It's very important. It's about value. That's what the marketplace rewards. And so you then need to begin to acquire the skills that you need. Once you discover yourself, you know the kind of skills you need to to acquire, and then you start positioning yourself to acquire those skills. Right now, I tell people, even before they get into school, start acquiring skills. Even before you get into university, if you have the opportunity, start acquiring skills. And then maybe during your NYC, even while in school, if you have the opportunity to do that, acquire skills. During NYC, acquire skills. After NYC, acquire skills. Even when after you've started working and all of that, still continue, to acquire relevant skills. It's very important. And the three major types of skills, broad categories of skills that you should look at acquiring. Number one, technical skills. Technical skills. So technical skills are skills that are required in your field. Skills that you know are non-negotiable in your field, in the career path that you're discovering, right? So you need to acquire technical skills in that field. Number two, digital skills. This one is non-negotiable. We are in a digital world, digital era. And so digital skills are non-negotiable. It's very, very important to acquire digital skills, understand digital tools, how to use them to improve your work. It's very important. Number three, the third broad category of skills that you need to acquire is human skills or social skills or human skills. So these include communication, leadership, problem solving. These are very, very important. All right. So skill acquisition is very important. It's very important. And we said there are three broad categories: technical skills, digital skills, and human or social skills. So what you then need is keep learning them. And as you learn them, you try and ensure that you apply them. You apply them. As you learn, apply, you refine, and then you repeat the process. Learn, apply, refine, you repeat the process. All right. And then there are other skills as well that you also need. There are like high leverage skills for any career. Number one is critical thinking. Critical thinking, you need to be able to think critically. You need to be able to look at things and look at them differently, look at them from other perspectives, ask questions. What if this could be done differently? What if this, critical thinking is very, very important. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of that in our educational system. As a matter of fact, from first degree at that level was supposed to be trained in critical thinking. Was supposed to be trained in critical thinking. So critical thinking is very, very, very important. That's very, very important. And of course, I mentioned communication earlier on. Communication is very, very key. Communication is very, very key, both written and verbal communication. It's very important. The other is data literacy. Data literacy is also very important. Data literacy is important. And then another one that is very key, especially in this ever-changing world, is adaptability. The ability to adapt to changing conditions. Things are moving very fast in our world. Things are changing very fast. And so it's important for you to be able to quickly adapt, as things change. As a matter of fact, part of our adaptability now even requires that we think ahead. We think ahead, look ahead, see where things are moving to, and start preparing ever before those changes are concretized. All right. And so adaptability is very important. The third one that we need, the third pillar of career foundation that we need to pay attention to is character and work ethic. Character and work ethic. And this is what we call trust capital. trust capital. This is what will make people trust you and want to work with you. This is very important as well. Your reputation will open or close doors before your CV is read. Your reputation will open or close doors before your CV is read. There's also this saying that your competence, your skills may open doors for you, but your character will keep those doors open. And so it's very important that you build good character, you develop good work ethic is very, very important. This is very, very important. And let me share a few traits of this with us. Number one is integrity. Integrity is very, very important. Be a man, a woman of your word. Integrity is very important. And let people know you to be a man and a woman of your word. This is very important. Reliability. Reliability. Be someone that is reliable. Be someone that people can count on. Be someone that people can count on. This is very important. The third one is discipline. Discipline. Discipline with time, discipline with resources, discipline with opportunities. Discipline is very, very important. Discipline is important. The fourth one is accountability. Accountability. Accountability is important. Have people that you're accountable to. All right. Have people that you're accountable to. Be accountable to both your upliners, have mentors that you're accountable to. Be accountable to your peers. Be accountable to your mentees as well. Accountability is very important. So it's important for you to put structures of accountability around you. I have one what I just described to you now is what I call the 360-degree accountability structure. 360-degree accountability structure. So what it looks like is you have, just imagine a plus sign, right? At the top, are your mentors. At the top are your mentors, those who are older than you, they are there. So you should have people like that in your life. At the bottom are your mentees. Your mentees are at the bottom, right? So these are people that you're also pouring yourself into, you're guiding in life, and all of that. Be accountable to them. And then this horizontal line are your peers. So have peers, have people around you, that you can be accountable to. It's important. They all have their role to play in our lives. The fifth one that I'm going to be sharing, fifth core trait of character that I want to share with us is service. Service. Be service oriented. Be service oriented. Be willing to serve anywhere you find yourself in. Be service oriented. Be known as a man or a woman of service. A man or a woman of service. Service is very, very, very key. And these are some of the principles that have helped me in life and that are still helping me in life. There are places I have worked. I can say virtually everywhere I have worked, I can walk in there today. I can go back to the offices. I can go back to those places and I will still be welcomed. And that is because this character, aspect of my life was developed. I was very deliberate about it. I was service oriented, reliable, disciplined, ensuring that people could trust me and all of that. And so till tomorrow, I can still work into those places. There are some of them, if I were to need an office space, all I would need to do is to give them a call. I need an office space. I need a desk and a table to call my office. And trust me, they will look for it in those spaces. All right. And so these things are very, very important. And sometimes when you look at this list, they may look as, particularly in our society of today, it may look as if they don't pay. It may look as if they do not pay, like, to be a man of integrity does not pay, a man of honesty and all of that, discipline does not pay, because we live in an environment where things are usually done anyhow and all of that. But trust me, they do pay. They do pay. They may not pay in the immediate term because, again, remember what we said, career is a long-term asset. So what you're building is your career. All right, is a long-term asset. So in the immediate, may not pay, but the truth of the matter is that in medium to long term, it will pay. You'll see it. All right. And I'm gonna, if time permits, I'll share some other practical examples with us. And so benchmark, how does this play out? Make sure you do what you say you would do. Deliver when you say you would deliver. Do it better than expected. That is excellence. That's another one. Excellence, another trait. Excellence. Do it better than expected. Exceed expectation. Another, one way I love to define excellence, exceeding expectation. Exceed expectation. Also, as part of this is I prefer to under promise and over deliver than to over promise and under deliver. People will trust you if you're a man and a woman who under promise and over delivers than over promising and under delivering. And so this is how you build trust. This is how you build trust. So we've looked at these three pillars. Number one, again, is self-discovery, purpose discovery, get clarity about your life, your mission in life, what your passion, what God has called you to do and to who He has called you to be. It's important. The second one is skill acquisition. So you need skills that will back up, what you have discovered to be your career path. So you need to build relevant skills. And we looked at different skills, technical skills, digital skills, human or social skills. And we also looked at others such as critical thinking, communication, data literacy, and adaptability. And the third pillar is character, and your work ethic. This is what will get people to trust you. They will not only trust you, they will recommend you. They will have situation whereby, a project is going to be happening, like, oh no, call this person to drive this project, call this person to be a part of this project, because over time you've built trust over time, so they can trust you, they can come back to you, to get you to be part of project, because you have built that over time. So let's look at very clearly strategic career positioning, how to position your career. And so the first thing is make sure you think in terms of value and not titles. Think in terms of value and not titles. So don't look out for the title of the job. Think in terms of what value will this position help me create? What value will it help me deliver? All right. And so don't ask what job would you have me do, or what job do I want? Ask what problems can I solve? What problems can I solve? So think in terms of value. So you ask that question, what problems can I solve? So you think in terms of value, not titles. The second one is build early credibility. Build early credibility through volunteering, internship, take on small responsibilities. These are some of the things you can do. So sometimes when people come and they're looking for jobs and all of that, and I'll tell them, can you volunteer? Can you volunteer? And know sometimes where you volunteer, sometimes it may not come with pay, it may not even come with transportation, but I'll tell people, even if it's one day that you can go to the office or twice. And especially now that, if you have the tools, to volunteer remotely, all right, you do that, so you volunteer. It's important. That's how you build credibility early. You volunteer, you intern, and especially in this climate where people are looking for people who have experiences, right? And so volunteering, interning with organizations will help you build experiences, which is very important. All right. Take on small responsibilities, different places as much as you can. And then the last one is make sure you document your work. Make sure you document your work. You must have what we call a portfolio mindset. So you're building a portfolio of experiences. And so make sure you document your work. Everything that you're doing, find a way to make sure you document it, so that when you have an opportunity to sit down to interview with maybe companies or organizations of your dream. You can share with them the things that you've done, problems you've solved, and crafting all of that in terms of problems solved. Like we said, don't just focus on the job, focus on problems that you're solving. And so when you stand in front of anybody and you talk to them, even when they talk to you, when they ask you about your experiences, and you frame that, in form of problems solved, that will help you. And so build early credibility. And of course, when you add that to what we've talked about earlier on in terms of building trust, that will help you. The third one, in terms of strategic career positioning, is the 70, 20, and 10 growth model. 70, 20, and 10 growth model. The 70% of your career positioning is actually on the job experience. On the job experience is very important. It's like 70%. On the job experience. This is so important that in countries, in developed countries, where you want to do your master's or you want to do your PhD, they actually take work experience into consideration. They take work experience into consideration, because it is believed that when you have built that, that means you have the discipline to take on higher degrees. And so it's very important. On the job experience is like 70%. And that is why internship is important. Volunteering is important. All right. And documenting all of that is very, very important as well. So because for your career positioning, the model is that 70% is job experience. So you need to start building that very early. 20% mentorship and networks. Mentorship and networks, that's where you look out for mentors in that same environment. Have career mentors, right? You can have different kinds of mentors. One of the mentors you have is a career mentor or career mentors, people you will talk to. I mean, up till now, I still have career mentors. I still have career mentors. I have people I have conversations with about my career. I want to take a course. I want to do a higher degree. I have conversation. They counsel me. They have conversation with me, questions around, okay, what is the value of this program and all of that. And so have that. So 20% mentorship and networks, and then 10%, remaining 10% is a formal education. And so you discover that everything that you've been doing and all of that in your formal education is 10% in terms of your career positioning. And so another 20% will be mentorship and networks that you connect to. So being also, professional networks and all of that can be very helpful. And then on the job experience is, very, very important. And so let's look at social capital. Social capital. Social capital is important in career and building a strong foundation for your career. Social capital, the power of relationships. Your network is not about numbers, it's about relevance and trust. And you will see all of the things that we've looked at, earlier. I'll be making reference to them, And now we're talking about trust again, trust capital. And so your network is not just about the number of people that you know, it's about how relevant these people are to you, to your career, in different areas of your life. How relevant are they? It's very, very important. And so how do you build relationship? So in addition to all of the things that I've mentioned in terms of character, values, and being known, as someone of integrity, of discipline, of accountability, of service, and all of those values. So you build relationship in addition to that by showing up consistently. Show up consistently. If you want to build relationship with certain people that you have discovered that you should build relationship with, make sure you show up consistently, connect with them consistently, find a way to connect with them consistently. It's very important. If you know that the people in a particular space that you want to connect with, there's a conference that they will always be at, attend those conferences. So in addition to learning and expanding your knowledge base, you are also connecting with people, relevant people, building relationship, strengthening those relationships. So make sure you show up consistently. Another thing in building relationship is add value before you ask for help. Add value before you ask for help. Make sure you add value everywhere you go. Be a value-driven person. Be someone who seeks to add value everywhere, no matter how small it is. And that's where, again, being service-oriented is very important, that I shared with us earlier on. Being service-oriented is very, 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 very important. Very, very important. So when you are a service-oriented person, you will always seek to add value. You will always seek to add value. It's very, very important. So make sure you add value before asking for help. When you're someone who is service oriented, by the time you ask for guidance, ask for any kind of help, trust me, they'll be willing to speak for you or come through for you. And then the third one is make sure you stay in touch. So don't just build these relationships and connect with them and just leave them hanging. Stay in touch as much as possible. Reach out to them. Maybe if you know their birthdays, acknowledge them on their birthdays, send them personalized messages. Their faith, and maybe their faith, they're celebrating holidays, could be Salah, could be Christmas, whatever it is, take note of those dates and send them messages. There are other things that they're celebrating, keep in touch, find a way to, stay in touch with these people that you build relationship with. And so part of your strategic move would be to have mentors, like I've said, at least one mentor, at least one career mentor. And you know that this person, is someone who's experienced, who can guide me in my career. So it's important. Have like one sponsor, at least one sponsor. That sponsor is, I know we use that word, but this sponsor is like an advocate, someone that can speak and will speak for you anywhere. All right, someone that will speak for you anywhere. So this person is not necessarily in your field, but it's someone who is respected. Yeah, and I'm not saying go be looking for, but someone who is respected, who, is like a voice in your community, can speak for you, advocate for you. Have at least one person, so we can call that person a sponsor. So one career mentor, at least one sponsor, and also ensure you have a peer group, a support group, an accountability group. And I know that this is a community, which is really, really good. What you have here is a community, and so being in an accountability group and having maybe subgroups, where you can keep one another accountable, is great. So these are some strategic moves you can start making as you start building your career. Let me take us through very quickly early career pitfalls that you must avoid. Common mistakes that you must avoid. Number one is chasing money too early over learning. Don't chase money too early over learning. I know, we have need for money, we have need for survival, we have need, those needs are real, all right? I'm not playing down on that. But do not make money your primary pursuit. Don't put it in people's faces. Prioritize learning over chasing money. Prioritize learning over chasing money. It's important. I remember I met a friend during my NYC, and we discovered that we were both kind of passionate and interested in management consulting. We discovered that while we were serving, and we started having conversations around how we're going to, get into consulting immediately after NYC and all of that. That was what we wanted to do. And after a while, I remember after NYC, I remember calling down my friend and I told him, I said, I think we should go get a job. I said to him, let's go work for people. And I said that from working from people from other companies and organizations and serving, we will learn. You'll be able to learn a lot about how companies, how organizations function, how they work, and that will position us as, good consultant, management consultant, that let's go work, let's go serve, that we will learn a lot, so prioritize learning over chasing money too early. It's important. So chasing money too early over learning is a mistake. Avoid that. Another one is lack of patience. Wanting fast success. It's problematic. Avoid that. Do not compare yourself with others. Sometimes we do that, but that is a mistake. That's a pitfall. Avoid it. You can see from where we started from, discovering your self-discovery, your identity, your purpose, and all of that. You realize that you are unique. You're unique. I'm not saying do not draw encouragement from your peers and people around you, but do not compare yourself to others. All right. Your journey is unique. All right. Your journey is unique. So do not compare yourself to others. And then another pitfall is ignoring personal development. Ignoring personal development. Make sure you do not ignore personal development. Prioritize personal development. Prioritize personal development. This, your first 5 to 10 years are investment years in your career. First 5 to 10 years, they are your investment years in your career. So they're not the time you start investing. You invest. You invest. That's how you see it. Remember how we said we should look at career? Look at career as what? Strategic assets. Strategic assets. And when you see strategic assets and you're building portfolio, you invest. That's what you do first, right? So your first 5 to 10 years are your investment years in building your career, not harvest years, right? And to share this experience with us, one of the organizations where I worked, um, served, poured myself into the process. And then I needed to transition to another mission. Needed to transition, and I think at this point, that was not the first place I worked, but at this point, it was the longest place, and I'd put in like 7 years into this organization, but I needed to move. And when I was moving, it was a drag. They turned down. I wrote my resignation letter like 3 times. This first one was turned down. A concession was made for me. Second one was turned down as well. Even the third one was actually turned down, but I insisted that I needed to move because of another assignment that I needed to pursue. And so because I had invested in that organization, as I was leaving, I was given 2 offers. One was to serve as secretary of the board of the company, and secretary of the board of an NGO that was also established, connected to the company. So I was serving on the board of the 2 organizations, the company and the organization. And then I was also given, the second offer I was given was a business development consultant for the company. And what happened? I think I left around May, that year. And then between June and December that year, I made from that same company twice my annual salary as a consultant.
Yes, my name is Emmanuel. It's young.
I made twice my annual salary from that same company as a consultant. And so what happened is I had served, I had invested, and so it was time for harvest. And that's why I say your first 5 to 10 years are investment years, not harvest years. But a time will come when you will then begin to harvest, in your career. And then another thing that also happened to me is that because I had put in that number of years and diligence, I then started consulting for similar companies in the ecosystem, within that same sector, right? Started consulting for similar companies and started doing stuff. And there were things I actually did in that company that I was not paid for directly. Set up different departments, help set up processes for department to take off. And I did that without prioritizing money. I did all of that prioritizing money. I was wearing multiple hats, maybe wearing like 3 or 4 hats while being paid for one. But because I had discovered myself, I had discovered purpose, it was very easy to pour myself into a process like that, not prioritizing money. And I'm not saying money is not important. Money is important, but it's important for you to know when to ask for more money. It's very, very important. There was a time I was getting a little bit overwhelmed with work because I was, doing quite a lot, handling finances, and all of that. Another thing about trust that I want to share with you, why it's important to build character, integrity, and people so that people can trust you, is that in this company, I was head of operations, HR, admin, and finance, and I was in charge of all the accounts. While I was there, the directors didn't even know how much we had per time, and I was signatory to all the accounts, even though I was an employee. I was signatory to all the accounts. I had to even, at some point, I was signing for one of the directors because he was always traveling and he didn't want to stall our operations. He was like, Fred, you have to learn to sign my signature. Of course, that is not a proper thing to do, Uh, but it was in the early years of the organization of the company, and we need to be moving very fast. But the point here is the issue of trust, issue of integrity. All right. It's very important that you build that, and so I that was, the kind of service and how much I poured myself into that process. And by the time I was, resigning as director of operations, I was giving those offers. A business development department, and we could no money to hire a new person at that point. I took it on. Sorry about my internet in case it's shaky. I took it up and then and I was doing it. And there was a time it was getting overwhelming. And I was like, "Ah, we need to bring in an accountant at this point." But they were like, "Oh, because of trust, please, can you just hang in there? Uh, okay, as an incentive, you just increase your salary. You know what we have. So can you just make proposal for salary increase for you so I can continue to do all the things that we want you to be doing?" And I knew that we didn't have all the money to make that kind of decision. So I told them, no, no, no problem. I'll continue to handle the responsibilities, and there's no need to increase my salary because, of course, I knew where we were at, where the company was at the time. And so I had to make the sacrifice as well. And so not prioritizing money, that's what this is about, so you need to understand, this is a time for investment. You're investing in your career, you're investing in people, you're investing in companies and organizations that you work with, and so when it's time for harvest, there will always be a time for harvest. Seed time and harvest will never end as long as we remain here. And so when it's time for harvest, there'll be opportunity to harvest. And sometimes from the same company, sometimes from other opportunities. All right. And so just to share a few of back end things that happened that now, put me in this very strong footing with this same company. And so I'm still with that same company. I'm still with the organizations, still on the board, still serving on the board, still doing business development as well, consulting, and all of that. And yes, so that's what happens when you take your time to build and to grow. All right, so let me take us through quickly building a growth system and not just setting goals. Goals are good by all means. Set goals. Goals are important. Goals are important. But growth system is also very important. All right. So system sustain growth. System sustain growth. Goals are important, but systems sustain growth. So you need to put growth systems in place. Number one, you need to create systems around daily learning, 30 to 60 minutes. Learn something, read up something. Put a system in place to learn something. Learn something. Um, daily learning, daily learning, daily learning. It's important. Daily learning is important. Weekly reflection is also important. Weekly reflection is important. Reflect on your week. Take stock of your week is important. Quarterly skill upgrade. You can set that target for yourself. I set this target for myself that every quarter I want to have done something to, skill up, to improve my skills and my career. So you can do that. Quarterly skill upgrade. And then, of course, annual career review. So you can put a system in place where you review your career, the progress that you have made annually. And so this system is very important. Put this system in place. Number one, daily learning, 30 to 60 minutes to learn something, read a book, read something, learn, every day. Weekly reflection, quarterly skill upgrade, and then annual career review. These things are very important. And then if you want to then do your KPI along the line of these systems, so you can then look at skills acquired, what skills have I acquired, what skills have I improved on. That's one. You can also take stock of projects completed. If you're into writing, okay, how many books did I write? How many articles did I publish? You can, projects completed, take stock of value you created for individuals, for organizations, for entities. Take stock of values you created and relationships you built within the period. All right. So you can use this as your KPIs. The other thing I want to talk about quickly is personal branding and visibility. Personal branding and visibility. And some of the things I've shared with us, again, they connect with personal branding. When it comes to the trust capital that we talked about, that connects with personal branding, right? Your character. Can people trust you? When your name is mentioned, what comes to people's mind? That is also part of your branding. If people don't know what you do, opportunities will pass you by. If people don't know you for what you can do, opportunities will pass you by. That's why I said you should be able to build in a way that when a project is coming up and they are looking for people to jump on the project, like, oh, please call this person, because they know that, one, you're not just someone of character and of discipline. They also know that you have certain skills and competencies that you bring to the table, and part of branding is letting people know you, for who you are and for what you can do. Letting people know you for who you are and what you can do. So, action steps: be known for something specific. Be known for something specific. All right. So, in addition to people that you meet here and there, share stuff online, about what you do, share insights, both offline and online. Write, blog. If you can, write for newspapers. Let them know you for what you do. Then document your journey. Document your journey. Document your journey. Build a reputation for excellence. Build a reputation for excellence. So these are different ways you can build branding and visibility. The other thing I want to talk about very quickly before we round off is future proofing your career. The world is changing very fast, so your career must be adaptable. Remember, we spoke about it earlier on, adaptability. is very important. It's very important. So the strategy that you need here is stay curious, learn continuously, embrace technology, especially AI. Nobody should be told to embrace technology or AI, especially AI, because you're able to do so much more, with AI. So embrace technology, especially AI. Build transferable skills is very important. Build transferable skills. So don't build a career for today. Build for relevance in the next 10 to 20 years. Build for relevance in the next 10 to 20 years. And when you want to make decisions about maybe a second or a third degree, you sit down and say, okay, this that I'm about to study, what would be the relevance of this field, in the next, 10 to 20 years, and all of that. So that's what you think about. So that's how to make sure that you future-proof your career. Let me give us an example, practical action plan and exercise. Like I said earlier, that there will be exercises. Let me see if I can give you guys one or two exercises. So if you can, I want you to quickly, let me see how many minutes I can give you. Let me give you 5 minutes to do this. Three strengths that you know that you have. Your three strengths. Number 2, identify one skill to start learning this month. One skill that you want to start learning this month. Write it down. Number 3, take note of a potential mentor that you're going to contact, that you're going to reach out to. If it is not clear in your mind yet, just put that question there. Put question mark. A career mentor. Number 4, if you're not currently engaged, think of a project, even if it's unpaid, a project you can start, a small project you can start working on. And then number 5, commit to a weekly growth routine. Take note of it. A weekly growth routine. What will I do to grow myself and then grow my career every week? And so I hope we got that. Let me just go over that one more time. Write down 3 strengths that you have. Identify one skill to start learning this month. Take note of a potential mentor that you will reach out to. Take note of a small project you will embark on, even if it's unpaid, and then commit to a weekly growth routine. So, in closing, your career is a responsibility. It's not a chance event. Remember what we said. You must see it as a strategic asset. You must see it as an asset. All right. And so you build assets. You build assets strategically. And so it's not a chance event. You must build it strategically, intentionally, and deliberately. And when you start may not be in your control. When you start doing this may not be in your control, but how you grow is 100% your responsibility. It's your responsibility. So be intentional, be disciplined, think long term, don't think short term, because people thinking short term, a lot of them are falling into errors and mistakes, and they've made a mess of relationships and opportunities because they are not thinking long term. So think long term and then build value consistently. Build value consistently. Build value consistently. All right, to close this session, just to give you this, take note of these 3 things. Take note of these 3 things and reflect on them later. The kind of person you want to become. What kind of person do I want to become? Just write it down. You can reflect on them later. What kind of person do I want to become? What kind of problems do I want to solve? What kind of problems do I want to solve? And what kind of impact do I want to make? What kind of person do I want to become? What kind of problems do I want to solve? And what kind of impact do I want to make? All right. This is where I draw the curtain. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your time. I hope the internet was not too crazy on my part. Over to you, moderator.
thank you so much, sir. Good evening, sir. Um, this is Nicholas, by the way.
Good evening, Nicholas. Good to see you. It's been a
Thank you so
while.
much. I had problem joining earlier, but I joined around 10 minutes late, and I've been listening. And again, this is I don't know what to say, but this is mind blowing. Thank you so much for taking time to give us this life-changing and transforming session on career development. Personally, I've taken notes, and I'm going to commit to doing those tasks as well, because I remember when I first had a encounter with you, that was 2022. Yeah, I can remember 2022, and you talked about the 3 stages of career, and that still keeps with me till now. What pays your bills, and talking about what's in line with your passion and your vision and your purpose. And then also you talk about how that at different stage of our career, whether you are starting at the beginning, what you should focus your attention on. I'm saying all this to say that those stuff stayed with me, and again you kind of enriched that this evening for me, and I can say that for every other person. But thank you so much for doing this tonight. We are
My
super duper
pleasure.
grateful.
My pleasure. My
Thank you.
pleasure. My
So
pleasure.
I'll allow them to have questions, to have a session of question and answer. So guys, if you have questions, and this opportunity to ask now, and if you're confused, anything as regards to your career, because at this point, I know a lot of us are confused because this is time to ask, and you gain some level of clarity from this session. I will turn it over to the moderator now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We are so grateful for tonight. Just as Mr. Nicholas has said, this session has been so amazing. Like, it's mind blowing. And we are so grateful to have you. So, guys, it's question time. Please confirm you can hear me. Feeling like I'm speaking to myself.
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. God bless you. Okay, Isaac Alifa, your hand is raised. Please, you can unmute. So if you have questions, just raise your hand and I'm going to call you. So Isaac Alifa, you can unmute your mic and ask.
All right. I don't know if you can hear me well. It's raining here. I don't know. Maybe I'll have to type. Can we get me?
No, I can hear you.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you so much for this wonderful session. Sincerely, I'm really blessed. Thank you so much, sir.
My
Sir,
pleasure.
my question. Now, I think in the earlier you made mention of when choosing a career path, you should look at what actually discover yourself first. Then you should take what align with your purpose. So here is my question. Take for instance, maybe in a scenario you are a graduate and you had an opportunity, maybe a job offer. It's actually a job offer that every graduate, let me say every Nigeria graduate should pray for. Maybe like 9 to 5 job, waking up, going to the office with tie, that kind of job. And the pay is actually okay, but it's paying your bill, but the pay is not going to maybe actually you cannot achieve what something worthwhile with that pay. And the job also is totally not in alignment with what you have discovered. Now, this job is actually good. It's good if you want to take it. It can pay your bills and do some other things. And it's actually something people pray for. But this job is not aligning with your purpose. It's not aligning with the discovery you have made. So in this kind of scenario, what should we do?
All right. So generally, when you're starting out, while you're getting all of this, seeking this clarity, getting to discover yourself, your identity, your purpose, what you're passionate about, you're discovering all of this. It's important for you to be engaged. All right. That's why we said that. I said, even when you don't have, in case you don't have, what's it called? Um, a job, intern, volunteer, right? So it's possible for you to have a job that may not really, like you said, be in line with your purpose and where you're headed. But if the conditions, the conditions, your conditions, socioeconomic conditions demand that you take up that job, by all means, take up the job, right? Take up the job while building and positioning for your career, for what you really want, right? And so it's important to start doing something. And then the second thing I want to say is that there is no experience that is entirely useless. There is no experience that is entirely useless. Um, I worked in a sector, I've worked in a couple of sectors, that are like I did not expect I would work in, but they kind of connect with my purpose, and I was able to add value. I was able to learn, and so there is no experience that is completely useless. Because you see, in that space, even though it's temporary and it's temporary, you will meet people. You will be able to build relationships, right? That's one. Secondly, there will be opportunity for you to make a mark and make a difference, either contributing to the company, the organization, or even contributing to society at large, solving real problems, right? So there might be an opportunity to do that. So you want to take that. You want to take that opportunity, right? So like I said, you will meet people. You will have an opportunity to make a difference. You will build, okay, relationship is one, experience is another. There is no experience that is a waste. There is no experience that is a waste. You would see that in one way or the other, that experience will still connect to where you're going. It will connect. It will connect. And so these are some of the reasons why I would say take the opportunity. And then while you're there, you're positioning for where you know that God will be leading you to. I hope that helps.
Thank you so much, sir, for that. I have a question here in the chat box. Someone also has another question. So I'm going to read this question from Gifts, Queen Gifts. She says, what do you have to say about someone that believes in multiple streams of income, sir?
It's really great. As a matter of fact, everybody now, as much as you can, while you're building your career, positioning for career, it is important to also position for multiple streams of income. All right. It's important to position for multiple streams of income. It's really, really, really important, especially the Nigeria and of today and our society. It's back in the day that people just stick to one job, one income stream, and then you do it for several years. And back then, we actually used to hear about how people were keeping multiple jobs, in other parts of the world. People were keeping multiple jobs successfully in other parts of the world. But now in Nigeria, we're learning to, and we're beginning to see that it is important, it's not just important, it is also possible. It is possible, to keep, multiple jobs. So multiple streams of income is really, really important for those of you who have the opportunity to do that. And as you're building your career, you even see that eventually, even if you are like a stiff career person, like, oh, I'm just building this career, eventually a time will come where you will need to see how you can build multiple streams from that same career. So I talk to people as a building, uh, let's say, so I'm going to use the example, someone that I brought into one of the organizations where I worked to handle finance, so she came in as a finance person and started managing, and she's growing gradually in the sector, growing and growing and growing. Right now, she's as much as she could, she had, she's consulting for other organizations. She's consulting for other organizations, you know, within the time, as much as time, will permit her to do that. So while she's still like in that strict career path, so she's able to also consult, and also make money on the side. And so please, by all means, multiple streams of income is very, very important. It's actually the way to go. And so, yes,
Thank you,
that's
sir.
the goal. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. So, Akinola Elizabeth, I don't know if you're ready to ask the question. You can unmute your mic and ask before I read the next question I have here. Akinola Elizabeth, are you here? Okay, while she gets ready, I have a question here from Oluwapelumi. He says, thank you very much, sir, for this session. Sir, you mentioned about how we are all unique. How do we bring that uniqueness into a vast field like health or business and translate it into value for others and ourselves?
The first thing is to understand what makes you unique. All right. So that's the first thing. You find out what makes you unique. And then find out how that uniqueness can add value, in your field or to the organization that you're working for or working with. So you need to ask that question. So this uniqueness, how does it add value, to what I'm doing here? I remember, even though this is not unique, when we talk about integrity, we talk about honesty and all of that. These are values that organizations and people out there are looking for. So let's say you bring that, to the table, and over time they can see that this person is trustworthy, this person can be trusted. Just to give you again, still around the issue of integrity and all of that, and how being in charge of all the accounts of the company I worked for, and I wanted us to bring in a finance person, an accountant at some point, because the work was really becoming too much for me. And they were like, oh no, two things, Fred. We really don't have a lot of money now that you're aware of. And secondly, the issue of trust, so basically saying we trust you to continue to handle our finances, and then and all of that. So that's value. That's value, adding value to the organization. And then also, not when they even asked me to increase my salary, and I knew that I could have done that. Maybe I'd like back then, maybe 20,000, on my salary or something, or 10,000. But I could have done that, and it would have been approved because it was proposed to me by one of the directors. But I just felt like, there was no need to do that. And so that's kind of unique to me, because I didn't go in there prioritizing money. And of course I needed the money, but it wasn't money, it was about learning. and building relationship and all of that. And so that was able to add value, to the organization. So look at your uniqueness, look at what you do well. So let me pick another. So this is supposed to be generic. Let me look for another. So this may not be unique, maybe you're someone who is friendly with people, and you are able to build, connect with people in the organization. Because some people are quiet and they want to be in their spaces, but some people just kind of by their uniqueness and by design, they connect with people. So, for example, so that's why I say you must understand that uniqueness, and you must understand how that uniqueness can add value to the organization or people in the organization, right? So let's say you're the type that, you connect easily with people, people gather around you. So if you do that because you have this personality that draw people to you, so what you can then do is how to then use that influence to say, okay, I have a measure of influence because people connect with me. So it's how to then use that influence to add value to the organization. All right. So how can you do that? By, encouraging people that you have relationship with, to believe in the organization, for example, or maybe the organization is going through, certain changes and all of that. You can use that influence to get them to understand what's happening, get them to cooperate, because there are people who also have this kind of influence and they use it to destroy companies and organizations. There's what we call employee engagement levels. It's something that I also teach when I train. I really enjoy teaching that, and during my training for organizations. So there are three major types of employees that we have in every organization. We have the actively engaged employees, you have the engaged employees, and you have disengaged employees. So actively engaged employees are those people that pour themselves, they are serving, they are working, they will give 120% and all of that. So they're actively engaged. And they're usually very few in every organization. They're usually like, 10% thereabout. And then you now have engaged employees. So engaged employees are just moderately engaged, they're, just giving what is required. They are not ruffling any feathers, they're not dropping the ball, but just giving what is required. So they are engaged employees. And you have disengaged employees. Disengaged employees are those people who actually destroy the organization. These people don't do much, they talk down on those who are trying to, pull their weight and all of that. So I'm just giving this example of how you can have a strength to rally people connect with you. You can choose to use that influence, to improve the organization, or you can choose to use it to destroy the organization. And so it is to understand your uniqueness and then see how that uniqueness can be turned into something of value. So you ask questions like, okay, how can this help my colleagues? How can this help the management? How can this uniqueness help this organization? So these are some of the questions you would ask yourself. What is my uniqueness? And how can my uniqueness help this organization? So as you ask those questions, you'll be able to discover, how what you have, can help. There are some people are very quick in learning things. They are quick in learning new skills, quick in learning stuff, depending on where you're working in, you can say, okay, I know this, I know this. So if you have people, maybe your colleagues, who, may not be as quick, at learning stuff, that skills that are needed on the job, you can be that person that will teach others. You can be that person that will help others catch up. So yeah, I know how to use this. Let me take you guys through it. Let me, and you may be doing that, you may be thinking that nobody is seeing, but you'll be sure that someone is observing, someone is watching. All right. So you want to see how you can get everybody around you to also, catch up with those things, So maybe you're someone who you're very innovative, things are coming to you, ways of improving processes and all of that. So as they come, you discuss with your supervisor or your manager, say, sir, it's just a concept, an idea that I think if we if we adopt, it will help our processes and also just ask, what are the things that are unique to me and how can this uniqueness add value to the organization? So as you ask these questions, and then with your understanding of the organization, what you do there, what the organization is about, or what the company is about, you'll be able to figure out how to turn that uniqueness into value. I hope this helps.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. We have two more questions here in the Q&A session. So Akinola Elizabeth is asking, she says, I'm a fresh graduate who is serving presently, but about to finish in 2 months. Now, my greatest fear is that who will employ me with no experience and with my discipline because I studied peace and conflict resolution. Now, my thought is that what next? Though I learned fashion designing as a skill, I have no customer, but I'm good at what I do. Please, sir, I need clarity.
I mean, you're two things, right? Two things. You've got assets, right? So number one, you're a graduate. You've gone through school. That all by itself is an asset, right? And notwithstanding what you studied, there's something about graduates, notwithstanding what you studied, because you've gone through that whole discipline and that whole process, it is established that you will be good at a lot of things, including general administration. It doesn't mean that from the get-go, you then get a job in a conflict resolution, peace and conflict resolution outfit, agency that has to do with, no, that may not be it. So for now, you may just look out for a generic opportunity place where you can apply, just general knowledge. Being a university graduate or a polytechnic graduate means that you've gone through a set of disciplines. You are good at a level, basic, let's say, administration. All right. Another thing that's also has happened to you is that you can also easily adapt, if let's say they take you to a department that may not require certain technical skills, but you realize that you can function there. You may be shocked that they take you to you get hired at a company and they take you to say, okay, maybe a business development department and all, or a department where with little training you can catch up, all right, to start serving. And so I'm sharing all of this to say, do not limit yourself by what you studied, and do not see yourself that way. I want you to see yourself that because you've gone through school, you are already an asset. You are already an asset, and this asset that you represent can be deployed anywhere. You will function because there are certain generic responsibilities that you are suited for, at the minimum, at the entry level. All right. So see yourself that way. See yourself that way, that you are an asset. All right. And so then start positioning for opportunities with this mindset. Start positioning for opportunities. So you're not waiting until that thing has to be directly about what you studied. No. Because what you studied, sometimes you will need to even take it, if you want to pursue it as a career, you will need to take it at the second degree PhD level, or maybe masters. Let me not push it too far. Maybe master's level, and then you will need experience, all right, to then be able to be in certain rooms, certain committees, certain agencies of government, and all of that. But it's an interesting field. What you have is an interesting field. But for now, you can do generic stuff at entry level, right? So position yourself for that. And then so while you're doing that, while you're waiting and trusting God for an open door for you to get into, any, paid employment, you said you're good at fashion designing, so start making clothes. So you can start by making clothes for yourself, right? You can start by making clothes for yourself. You can start by making clothes for people around you, right? Start by doing that. Even if you have to do it for free for now, do it for your siblings, do it for your parents, do it for your friends, with the condition that anytime they get a compliment, whether or not they even get a compliment, they will tell people about you. All right. And all that. So you can start from there. You see, everybody that you know now that is doing well or doing big in the fashion industry, they started small. They started, quite a number of them just started small, not big. So start by making clothes for yourself and making clothes for your siblings, your friends, people around you, and then task them to advertise, to talk to their peers, their friends, their bosses, about you, and just start doing stuff gradually. And clothing, I mean, people wear clothes all the time. You see that there's one actually be one event today, another event tomorrow, here and there, and all of that. And, so you can start building gradually. Just start small as much as you can. And then you see where that will take you to. And like we said, if you want to really go that line, if possible, if you can get a mentor, get someone to sit you down to talk to you about the business side of things, or maybe you need to understand the business side of things, you can volunteer somewhere, maybe work with a fashion house to understand the business side of things, if possible. So explore all of this. So you see that you start making clothes for yourself and for your siblings and people around you, so you can advertise, or you volunteer at, if possible, fashion house that you can, so that you can also understand the business side of the trade. Yeah, I hope that helps.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. This last question, it's going to be the last question I'm taking. I think you've answered it, but let me just, like, you've answered it while answering the question of uniqueness. But let me just read it out. Ennis Bossede is asking that, how can I discover myself? I am finding it difficult to discover myself.
All right. Let's see. There are questions you ask. Key questions, some questions that will help you discover yourself. Number one, what problems am I naturally drawn to solve? What problems am I naturally drawn to solve? Number two, what skills come to me easily? What do I find that I can easily do without stressing too much? And then what are the values that define me? What values do I refuse to compromise? So in other words, right, these same questions, but let me frame the three of them differently. Number one, your strength. What do you do well? What are your strengths? Strength that you have discovered. And then number two, your passion. What energizes you? Your passion. Number three, values that guide your decisions. So these are some of the things that can help you discover yourself. So you get to just know yourself, right? So it's like looking in the mirror and discovering who you are. That's what it looks like. So you ask these questions. What are my values? What are my strengths? What am I passionate about? What drives me? What problems do I want to solve? What skills come to me easily? Or what skills can I easily learn? Even if they don't come to you easily. What can I easily learn? And then your values, what you stand for. And another thing also is that as you read, study, and all of that, you can also start. So from studying, you can start discovering yourself that, oh, I am like this. Oh, I love this. Oh, Another way is also the people you admire. So you use them as a mirror. So like mirror. So the people you admire, look at them. What do you admire about them? Why are you drawn to them? And if they are not positive things, then you need to reevaluate and say, no, I should not be drawn to someone like this. I should not be drawn to these values and all of that. But often than not, we can actually use people we admire as a mirror, to highlight and to pinpoint certain things about ourselves that we may not know. But when we see people like that, I will draw towards them, like, oh, okay, I get it now. This is I also have this interest. Also, that's why I like this person, because we share so interest. So I hope this helps. And if you're a believer, you're a Christian, believe in praying, talk to God about it. Pray, talk to God about it. God, who am I? And then you will discover who you are, discover yourself, and then you discover your purpose as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much, sir. That was God bless you. We really appreciate you. In the absence of questions, we will be rounding off the session. And once again, we want to appreciate you, sir, for your time and for an amazing session tonight. Thank you. God bless you, sir. Thank you
Thank
guys
you
for
very much.
joining.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, can we say something good to our mentor tonight? You can type in the chat box, you can react, you can unmute and say something nice to him. Let him know how much you appreciate him.
Thank you so much, Sir Fred.
All right, guys. Good night.
Yeah.